6 weeks post Olympia, what is up everybody? We're back here at the Muscle Factory training push today. So this will be actually my last week updating you guys while I'm here in San Antonio before Renee and I head out for our vacation next week to Florida for 3 days. See my family right by Port St. Lucie, which is by the Revive Gym. We'll probably train at Anytime when we're there because we just still have our memberships to Anytime. It's actually a badass Anytime in Port St. Lucie. And then we fly straight from there to Calgary and staying in the Canmore Banff area for our actual winter vacation, which I think we're crazy for probably going to Canada in December, but we have all of our thermal winter clothes ready. So anyway, we'll walk you through this push session here, give you an update what's going on with me. Let's jump in. All right, so this has been a pretty consistent week for me. Been waking up around 2:40 pretty much every morning. That's kind of the same check-in from last week. The average weight is up a bit, so I haven't made any food adjustments. Actually, I take that back. I did lower my fats just a touch because I had some days where weight was kind of kicking up a bit. I'm kind of in that phase where like gear from the show is like completely out. I'm just on this baseline now, and it has caused some different metabolic effects to where you just can't handle quite as many calories. So I just adjusted that down just a little bit, but nothing major. Just I'm allowing some weight gain to still happen. Sleep's vastly improved over this past couple weeks, but just a little bit more to go. So post vacation, like I'm anticipating from around like 2:42 in the morning. That would be a really good spot to push up, and that's what I plan to do. And last off season I was around 2:32 right after Thanksgiving as well. So I should be seeing, I'm thinking get into like last year I should be like 265 peak. That would put me all-time highest body weight I've been at, but muscularity for sure. So anyway, session for the day, start with a prime lateral raise. I always start with laterals on push days. That hasn't changed. You can never have wide enough side delts. So start with these on a cam setting 4 as I warm up, and then my work sets I switch over to a cam setting 3. So you've seen some guys' sessions, they'll start with dumbbell laterals, kind of load something short, then later in the session they might do a cable lateral so it loads lengthen. Well, with the prime machine you can do that all in one. So I start with loading short, get a good connection with my delts, make sure I'm not just, I've had trouble in the past connecting, and keeps my execution really tight that way when I have that mind-muscle connection. Then I could go to the cam setting that loads lengthen, and which is preferential to probably the most hypertrophy stimulus you can get, loading the muscle in that longer length position. So cam setting 3, it's loaded as lengthened as you can get. 4 sets here. Then we'll move on, and 4 sets, and I'll stay within the about 10 to 15 rep range. All right, so moving on to a flat dumbbell press. So I was having my pec fly first, but I am switching to a compound press. So with the pec fly, it's like pretty direct stimulus to the pec. However, I would rather use a flat dumbbell press if I could get a lot out of my pec that way, because you load and lengthen. And then also, the movements you do first, you're going to get your best stimulus. So if you need a lot of like delt, tricep, pec, doing a compound movement first makes a lot of sense. And that's really the areas that I need it. So I really get more out of my compound lift doing it first than doing any pre-exhaustion just to the pec, with the caveat that since I've been doing flies first, I can get a lot out of my pec and my presses now. So I'll still do some just warm up with just a pec fly, just to like keep that connection, because that was helping me into my pressing, but I won't pre-exhaust. And now like I can do pressing and I get a lot out of my pec doing it that way. So it's really just you could pre-fatigue and do your press work if your real focus is like, hey, I just want chest, I have huge triceps. But for me, I just want it all. So I've moved to where my volume is more stimulating now. So I'm loading the pec lengthened first, and then my pec fly, which I was doing a cam setting 5 for the prime, which is loading more short, is now at the end of my session, and I moved to a cam setting 3, which loads lengthen. So now my pec volume is more stimulating. So I have more lengthen loading and can use more load throughout the session because of that. So my same volume is now more stimulating. So there's other ways to get more quality volume in than just adding in more volume. I think that's the thing you need to consider with programming. Is like, what I'm always trying to do in here is get more out of the same amount of sets I'm doing before I ever increase the number of sets. That way I can manage recovery, and also the repetitiveness of a lot of volume can start beating you up. But on these dumbbell presses, I moved them back in, so it requires a lot of shoulder stability, which is something that I always want to come back to, as it'll be good for just overall shoulder health and carry over into my other pressing movements to where I can brace well. And you see I'm a little shaky on them. Looking back at the video, I'm like, yeah, those are a little faster than what I wanted. So I can use video analysis, correct it, and slow it down for next time, which is doing 3 sets here. Right, next moving into a 15-degree Smith incline press. And one question I got about warm-ups is, so my first exercise is I have a bit more warm-up sets to do with high rep ranges, but man, my pec, my delt, my tricep, they're all warm. So what I do now is like I'm warming up to like about 3 plates on my incline press. So I just go 1 plate, 2 reps, 2 plates, like 2 reps, 3 plates, and work. So I don't waste energy, like I'm just feeling out the load as I'm increasing, just to make sure everything feels right, I'm comfortable, and there's no like little issues, and I'm also kind of starting to just ingrain neurologically all the cue I need for this other movement that I'm moving into. But I don't need an exhaustive warm-up because everything's already warm. I just need to familiarize myself again with this pattern just with a couple reps. So for this one, I just move into doing 3 sets again. So I have my higher volume in chest right now, it is a priority. However, like gear's low, so I'm not like, I do have like 4 sleeps before I hit push again. So I'm not training as frequently. So pretty much what I'll do is what I find when like gear's lower is that I just can't recover as fast, but I can hit the volume within the sessions not as problematic. It's more the connective tissue that is. So with gear higher, my connective tissue just recovers a lot faster. So what I'll do when I push is I will just go to doing like 3 sleeps before I hit push again. So the frequency increases, and then in turn, the volume for the week increases. Right, so after incline press, I just stay in the Smith incline, which is really convenient, and I do a Smith JM press. So this is kind of keeps the tricep, like it does fully stretch out the tricep, which it is more of like a mid-range kind of loading, but it's something that's sustainable for me because I can't do skull crushers. I just tear up my elbows, and even doing like cables overhead, I can only sustain for so long. But these are ones I can keep in, and so it's still a compound movement. So I'll just keep it in 3rd in the rotation for compounds, and do 3 sets here. And I swear, like this one, man, it blows my tricep up like nothing else. Like I'm sure if I could get overhead and do skull crushers, that would be ideal. But this has to be like the best option for me for adding size on. I like tricep extensions, push downs, those work well. It's just like for sheer like total stimulus, like absolutely getting more overhead and doing some type of extension or press work would get you the most out of it. Right, so moving on to isolation work. I was doing incline cable fly, but all the cables are taken. So on my prime machine, loading lengthen. I'm gonna do 3 sets here, 12 to 15 reps. And then I superset that, or compound set, if you want to use the right verbiage, with a single arm cross body tricep extension. So this is kind of like my mid-range. I can't get quite overhead like I mentioned earlier, but this also is something I can sustain and keep my elbows healthy doing. And just get 2 sets in here. So a little bit more volume in for triceps, but the 3 sets of the JM press, the 2 sets of the extensions is what has been working well for tricep recovery. And I get a lot out of tricep work. Like they're the quick thing to get pumped up. So don't need a lot of volume there. As far as diet-wise right now, still about 600 grams of carbs, 330 grams of protein, and 60 grams of fat. And then on my non-train days, fats come up to 70 grams, while my carbs drop to 330 grams. So pretty big discrepancy between train days, but I'm in here for about 2 hours training, start to finish. So the expenditure actually is that high, and it averages out for the week to about 4,000 calories total for my train days, non-train days, all averaged out. Cardio's just getting back in, so doing HIIT now after my upper sessions, just slowly getting into it. So doing 4 sets of 1 minute sprint intervals, like an 80% effort between the battle ropes and spin bike, so 2 sets of each. with a minute rest between each, so it's not overly taxing, but just do that at the end of the session. And it doesn't carry over or affect my leg training either, so it's what I've been able to keep in place all off season. I think it's huge for keeping metabolic efficiency in place, and then also like just for heart health and keeping visceral fat gain low, which all plays into just your cardiometabolic health. All right, back at home, my session had to kind of move through it and have stopped filming because we got a little short on time. Renee had a hair appointment, and we have one vehicle right now. Our BMW had a faulty battery. Damn BMW. No, it's been awesome. We're thinking about actually, like, I have like my truck, right? This big ass truck, and it Renee can drive it, but she's like resistant to, right? It's kind of a pain in the ass, and I don't need a truck anymore. And we thinking about getting another car, and really like that BMW M8 competition. So we don't, just such a poor way to spend money. We're like pretty tight on things, just with liking to save, and I don't know, we're just thrifty, I guess, but spend it on things that matter, like bodybuilding. Or I also have like this see behind me, my like 68 Mustang, which with that I just had a motor built. It's a John Causey Boss 9, so it's like the old 429 Hemi headed Ford motor. It's all aluminum, 572 cubic inch. It's stack injected. It's a beast. It's 850 horsepower, which that okay, spending money on that. But so anyway, I had to get out of the gym. In other words, long story not short, and finished up my cardio. So I did my hit, and really like hit, I jump straight on the spin bike. I just do a minute warm up and go straight into the first sprint and walk over to the battle ropes, and I just time this all out, right, and do battle ropes for a minute. So it takes me like 9 minutes to do my cardio. Do that 4 days a week. It's just done. And I have it gets my heart rate. I think you really need to challenge your heart rate and get it up there and keep it sustained for a good duration to actually get the benefits, which I see people like, hey, if you resistance train, you have enough steps, like that's enough. I don't think that's enough. You know, maybe if you're natural or a small female not doing PDs, but if you're a bodybuilder, you're pushing gear, like you need to do something to increasing like heart function. So HIIT works well for me and my psychology, and also my preference and adherence for it. I don't like steady state, so HIIT is the way I go. And so just being back at home now, it's ready to do this push phase, and a lot of things you'll see throughout this off season. It's just, it gets kind of boring, you know, since like I think about you watching. It's like diet won't change drastically, like the training doesn't change drastically. It's just, and that's the thing about it, is the takeaway of like, you just do the basic things consistently over a period of time. The right things is what adds up to the result, and that's where the problem lies, is that people are looking for the latest training or the latest drug or supplement or whatever it may be, but they're just missing the mark on like doing the basics every single day without faltering. And that's what I would harp on, and that's where you get the biggest result, where you see someone on stage and they're like 10 pounds up, like, holy shit, what do they take? It's like, no, man, it's not what they took. It's like, what does their daily life look like? Show me that. And that's the guy that was probably making a lot of progress, that could string days together without having, you know, training sessions missed, or having little snacks here or there. Or people were giving me shit about having like a pretty restricted off-plan meal. Like, couldn't you just eat what you want and just get back on the next day? I was like, yeah, just keep doing that and see where you're at like 10 weeks down the road. Like, you'll already cut your off-season short, be too fat. It's the guys that get really fat in the off-season, like they need to pull off 50 pounds of body weight, that won't be in shape. You know, it's a look that you have to push someone so hard to get it all off in a time period that it ends up training sufferers, and you end up just being like this smaller shell of yourself. So the guys that just pull down like 30 pounds, those are the ones that get like really, really conditioned. They have better managed preps. So it's all about the timeline. So to get real fat in the off season, it's not productive. But anyway, I won't keep rambling on. We'll wrap this up. Questions, please leave them down for me below. Happy to answer to them. Thanks for following along.